I've been through a lot recently. I was hit by a car, lost my agent, and no one was interested in booking me. I lost some friends, and I beat myself up a little bit. I made some mistakes, and I couldn't go back. But I didn't want this to be the end. I wanted this to be the beginning. I've heard it all so much before, that you can turn a new leaf, just look towards the future, don't worry about your past. But this was the first time I actually had to really put it into practice, and I didn't really know how to do it. So I just started going to the gym again, started taking care of myself, and then I started practicing things I've never really done before, like meditation, affirmations, journaling. I've chosen to make changes. I decided that through this obstacle, I was going to find an opportunity to grow. I had to push through pain, both mentally and physically, but I knew it was worth it. Even if other people didn't see the changes in me, I started seeing them in myself, and that was enough to keep going. Everyone I looked up to had done it, so I knew I could do it too. Why couldn't I? Meditating really helped me listen to myself and trust myself and forgive myself. I knew in order to change, I had to let go. As hard as it is, sometimes you just have to do that. But at the end of that, behind all of that, past the fear and old friendships and things that don't serve you anymore, I promise you'll find a better light. I think the most important thing I've learned through this healing process, it's not just about the scar or the physical healing outside. The main importance was the healing I had to do internally, how I saw myself, what I thought about myself, and if I was okay with myself. And that was the most important thing that I could have done for me.
I've never seen a strong person with an easy past. It's at times like this that we rediscover, redefine, and reconnect with our true selves. When we lose our dependence on our external abilities, our external characteristics, our external skills, and all of the things that we've relied on, it's at that point that we're able to start living from the inside out rather than from the outside in. When we start living from the inside out, that allows us to explore and amplify a whole new level of confidence, self-esteem, and self-awareness. A space from which we can own our strengths, a space from which we can accept our flaws, and a space from which we can always try to improve. We're confident about what's on the outside, not realizing that what's on the inside is infinitely more powerful. As C.S. Lewis said, you don't have a soul, you are the soul, and you have a body. When we recognize that we're eternal, timeless, full of knowledge and full of bliss, and live from that space, we're able to illuminate the whole world. The happier you are, the more beautiful you become. The true sign of a beautiful person is that they always see beauty in others and always see beauty around them. 9 years old, and I was visiting India with my family. We were stuck in traffic and we were driving through a slum area. It was the first time I'd seen homes built out of cardboard, scrap metal, and bricks all at the same time. Growing up in London, I'd never ever seen anything like it before, apart from on TV or in the movies. I saw some children on the streets, probably around the same age as me, but very different. Some of them didn't have clothes, they looked undernourished, and they probably didn't have access to much water. Could tell by the dryness on their lips and their skin. I noticed this one young girl who had her head inside a trash can. It looked like she was scrambling for something. When she finally came out and looked at me, she smiled. Not knowing what to do, I smiled back. She was obviously trying to look for food, and I could see her scrambling and trying to reach in as far as she could. Only then did I realize that she only had arms. She didn't even have hands. As she looked at me, I could tell she was hungry. But by the time I was just about to do something, our car took off, and I could only see her now and feel her disappointment that I wasn't able to help. At the time, I didn't have any food or money, and before I could ask my parents or the driver to stop, we were too far along on the highway, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. When we got back to the hotel, I got out of the car, and it was lunchtime. And even though I was really hungry, I couldn't eat because I couldn't get over the fact that I couldn't have done anything for that young young girl that I just saw. Even though I went to the buffet with my parents, it felt as if only me and her had looked at each other in that whole exchange and the whole city had stopped. I could remember exactly how she looked as I was looking at the food. When we were there at the buffet, I overheard a couple arguing with the hotel staff. Listening into their conversation, I found out that the couple were really upset at the hotel staff because of the number of choices available in the buffet. I looked around, there were so many options. They were complaining about there not being enough choice, but all I could see was choice. There were at least 30 items just as starters available to everyone there, but it wasn't enough for them. Now I get that everyone has their own standards, has their own expectations in life, and we're allowed to have them. And I know that everyone is fighting their own battle, but that little girl, she didn't even have hands. She was scraping with whatever was left of her arms. But many years on from that event now, I've learned a lot. One of the things is that I can sit here and be angry at that couple who was complaining, or I could actually do something about it. It reminded me of a quote by Gandhi. He said that I was sad because I didn't have any shoes, and then I saw a man with no feet. For me, this event left a lasting impression in my heart and two messages that I want to share with you today. The first one is to remain grateful for absolutely anything we have. Robin Roberts said it perfectly. She said that if we threw all our problems into our pile, we would rush to grab our own back. And when we start with gratitude and see everything as fortune and grace, we're able to receive much more deeply. And number two, let's help those who need it. Let's not be mad that the world isn't helping them. Let's see what we can do. Compassion is key and empathy is essential. And that's one of the reasons that I focus so much of my life in trying to help those in need. And it may mean that you're in a space in your life where you feel you can't currently help anyone right now, but I guarantee you that there's just one person out on the street today that you could impact, that you could change their experience at least for a moment. Remember what Gandhi said. I was sad because I didn't have any shoes, and then I saw a man with no feet. It puts everything into perspective. A wise person once said, "The tragedy of life is not death, but what we let die inside of us while we're still alive." We think we're the victims, but actually we should be the suspects because it seems we've killed more dreams than rejection. We've given our ambitions a lifelong sentence. It's trapped deep inside of us. It makes no sense. It's been locked for so long we've even forgotten its name. Everything we do today feels like it's all the same. Our dream is like a prisoner trapped within us, a vacant listener lacking all vision. Until someone comes and says, "You don't see your own potential." It's like we all need our own intervention, a moment with a mentor, a coach, or a guide, the type that sparks a light deep inside our minds. And then they ask us, "What's your passion?" We shrug it off and say, "That stuff doesn't happen." And then they push us a little further, probe us to think deeper. They're always focused on helping us find the hope inside of ourselves. Let me ask you, would you let someone who had incredible potential die right next to you? You would never do that. So why do we let them die right inside of us? That's why the missing link is a coach. A coach is someone who tells you what you don't want to hear and has you see what you don't want to see so you can be who you have always known you can be. Some of us get given people, some of us get given lessons, but all of us get given moments to change the trajectory of our lives. We can't imagine Kobe Bryant without Phil Jackson. We can't imagine Serena Williams without Patrick Muratoglu. We can't imagine Tom Brady without Alex Guerrero. It's not about what we take, it's about what we leave behind. Maya Angelou said, "People will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." Picasso said that the meaning of life is to find your gift and the purpose of life is to give it away. Coaches can be found in books, mentors can be found in schools, guides will be found throughout life. We don't have to be in the same room to understand their point of view. We don't have to know them for them to show you the way. We just have to have the burning desire to learn. Behind every great person is a coach that we may not even know, a name that we may not recognize, a face that we may never see. A lot of people have gone further than they thought because someone else thought that they could. So an ideal life for me is a life, and this applies to a company, an organization, an institution for me. An ideal life is when we all have a head, a heart, and a hand, all three elements together, working in alignment. Without one or the other, we start to lose something. So a head is the clarity of vision, what you want, knowing what you want, the way you picture life, and being able to navigate and make the decisions to get there. That's a good head. A good heart is being able to understand what your intuition and heart wants, being able to connect and tap into that understanding deeper and beyond the vision you may have painted for yourself. So I often say to people that you'll get to where you want in life, just not in the way you imagined. And that's because the path that's paved up and down is far different to the path we pave. So you can have a great head and a great vision and a great mission and know where you want to go, but if your heart's not able to have that resilience and be able to adapt and have compassion and care and all of that, then you're not going to be able to make the toughest decisions without your heart. But to be able to realize that we need to care and be sustainable and long-lasting requires a heart. And a hand is that service, wanting to pass that on, that which you have, wanting to give it forward, pay it forward. The idea of serving with what you have. I often say to people, your passion is for you, your purpose is for others. Your passion makes you happy, but when you use your passion to make a difference in someone else's life, that's a service, that's a purpose, and that's the hand. So those are my three elements of an ideal life.
All right, I've got one more thing that I want to hear you talk about. Which are your 3 E's.
Ooh.
What are they? Why do they matter?
So for me, my 3 E's are element, environment, and energy. Everyone has an element that they thrive in. If you take someone out of it, their element, they won't be the same. A modern day example would be Michael Jordan. He was incredible at basketball. You took him out of basketball, put him into baseball, no one remembers his career. You're talking about one of the best athletes of all time. Your environment is the environment around you. You can take a fish out of water and give it a beautiful mansion and a Bentley and all the money in the world, but it will die. And that's what we are, like our environment. Everyone needs an environment which they thrive, which we have to craft. Your boss, if you're at work, is never gonna ask you, hey, what environment do you succeed in, right? Like, that never happens. So we have to create an environment where we thrive. And then finally, it's energy. Some of us love high energy environments, high pressure. Some of us succeed in low energy environments and low pressure. Figuring out your energy and the frequency on which you operate best will help you thrive as well. So for me, those are the 3 E's to really create a thriving environment. Know your element, know your environment, and know your energy. And so at all times, if I see anything going wrong, I'm going, is my element out of alignment? Is my environment out of alignment? Or is my energy out of alignment? And that's a great 3-question test you can do to yourself when you don't think things are going right. And all you have to do is bring that back. So from a monk's perspective, the greatest power is to be self-controlled, to be able to train the mind and energy to focus it exactly where you want it and when you want it to be. You are completely detached and undeterred from external ups and downs. You're able to navigate anything that seems tough, challenging, fun, excitement with the same amount of being equipoised and balanced and equanimity, without being too excited in pleasure or being too depressed in pain. But knowing how to navigate every situation, to me, that's great strength and great power. There's a beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says that detachment is not that you own nothing. Detachment is that nothing owns you. And I love it because to me, that summarizes detachment in a way that it's not usually explained. Usually people see detachment as being away from everything. Actually, the greatest detachment is being close to everything and not letting it consume and own you. And that's real power, that's real strength. How many people do we know that have had fame and then that fame has ruined them? So for me, that definition of detachment is possible to practice even in the real world, rather than saying, oh, I'm just gonna have a really simple life, I'm just gonna have nothing in life. Being able to overcome ego, being able to overcome envy, being able to overcome jealousy, being able to overcome the negative of competitive state. There's a positive competitive state and there's a negative competitive state. Today, when people are looking on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, all you're looking at is, oh, she got that many likes, or he got that many likes, she got engaged, or he got married, or, oh my God, look at her body, or look at that. And it's like, that stuff's destroying us inside. Envy, jealousy, ego, greed. To be able to have enough clarity to purify yourself of those things is gonna alleviate the biggest anxieties and depressions of our time and mental health problems. And we know that. We know that because all the mental health research today suggests that things like isolation, overexposure, we now can have more pain consumption in one day because of what we're exposed to than the pain we would have had in a lifetime. That's huge. Like that's ridiculous to think that in one day, because of the media, news, and social media, we consume more negative than we did in a lifetime. For me, being able to have time, energy, and clarity to focus on self-purification, that is the best thing about being a monk. Because you have that time, reflection, and a process and an environment that only allows you to become more purified of those things. Habit that you really want to break or really want to change. But before we talk about that, I want to share with you how quickly we actually develop habits and how quickly those habits become a conditioned belief in our minds.
This won't take long.
I remember this video that went viral around 2 years ago where this young girl around 2 years old started to crawl and walk in her parents' living room. She went up to the television screen and she decided to try and get it to swipe. She started doing this with her little hands and fingers, hoping that the television screen would swipe. To her complete bewilderment, the television screen did not swipe.
Oh, come on.
All of a sudden, tears started to run down her eyes because she, in her 2-year-old life, had never come across a screen that didn't swipe.
It doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
It doesn't work.
She probably used her parents' iPad or laptop. She used her parents' screen, and she'd been seeing screens swipe for 2 years, but this screen did not swipe. In 2 years, she had developed a belief that every screen in her life swipes. Imagine if in 2 years she was completely conditioned to believe that every screen swipes, how quickly we all become conditioned in 2 decades, 4 decades, 6 decades, or even more. They say that the biggest challenge today is not simply to learn, but to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Wait, what?
So I want you to think about in your mind the one habit that you want to change. Now, if you truly want to change a habit, psychologists and researchers say it will take anywhere from 21 to 90 days. If you want to change anything in your life, you have to start with a small step, but make it a big priority. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they try to make big changes and make them a small priority.
I had it backwards.
So, here are some of my best tips on how you can change your habits starting today. One of the first things you want to do is see the trigger for your bad habit. If you feel that you eat too much junk food or you're not consuming the right things for your diet, the reason for those are usually boredom, staying in one place, and not having an active lifestyle. Try and identify the trigger and start becoming aware of why it is, where it is, and how that bad habit is actually coming about. The second thing you want to do after becoming aware of the triggers of your habit is change your environment. If you know that when you work near the kitchen you end up eating more, then change your work environment. If you know that when you wake up in the morning and you know you need to exercise but never get around to it, have the yoga mat, have your weights laid out on the floor already the night before. Start shifting the environment so that you're programming your brain, you're making it easier for your mind and brain to start that activity at the time you want. You can create the space, create the environment beforehand so that at the right time you have less excuses up here. And the third thing you want to do is find positive substitutes for your needs. We all need things that give us energy halfway through the day. We all need a reminder to wake up earlier in the morning. Whatever you can do to substitute positively. Finding a positive alternative to the feeling that you have is the best solution. The truth is, you'll never change your life until you change what you do daily. Follow these 3 simple steps and start seeing the difference in your day. We all feel that rejection kills dreams. We all feel that failure kills dreams. We all feel that people kill dreams.
You can't kill my dreams.
But actually, there's 4 words that we say in our heads to ourselves that genuinely have destroyed more dreams than all of those things put together. Those 4 words are, what will people say? What will people say? How many times have you stopped yourself from doing something because you're scared of how people will react? How many times, out of the fear of someone else's opinion or criticism, have you stopped yourself from doing what you believe in? How many times has someone's perception or perspective stopped you from living your potential?
Too many times to count.
I want to tell you a story about a man and his father who were walking with their horse through a market. While they were walking through, one of the people in the market saw them and he said, "You fools, you're so stupid. If you have a horse, why wouldn't you ride it?" They thought, "Oh, wow, maybe that person's right." So when they went on to the next market, this time the young man got on top of the horse and the old man walked by its side. In the next market, another person saw them and shouted out, "How insensitive can you be, young man? You're letting your old father walk while you ride the horse. That's completely inconsiderate." The young man thought, "Oh wow, maybe that person's right." Out of that criticism, he got off the horse and allowed his father to ride the horse. They arrived in the next market. When they arrived in the next market, one of the people in the market saw them and said, "Oh my God, old man, why are you being so inconsiderate? You're being so lazy. You're letting your son walk while you ride the horse." Again, the son and the old man thought, "Oh my God, maybe this person's right." And when they went to the next market, they were both riding the horse together. They thought this time, no one can have any complaints, no one can have any criticism. To their surprise, one of the people in the market shouted out, "You are both the most inconsiderate, lazy people I've ever seen. You're both putting so much weight on this horse. How do you go to sleep at night?" I love that story and that anecdote because it just shows no matter what you choose to do, there will always be people who find fault with it. There will always be people who criticize, complain, who try to bring you down and tell you that what you're doing isn't right.
Haters gonna hate.
It's crazy that we give up what we most want in life just based on people's opinions. And the crazy thing is, if we're living for other people's opinions, we'll never be right. There'll always be someone with something that they won't agree with. And this is why it's so important that we work with our own conviction. We work on what matters to us. It was Aristotle who told us that there were only 3 ways to avoid criticism. Do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. And I'm sure none of us want that of our future. So don't let anyone's opinions stop you. Don't let anyone's criticism hold you back. Keep following your passions, invest in what you believe in. And remember, don't let people's compliments get to your head, and don't let their criticism get to your heart.